Okay, everyone, this is a super exciting day because we have the amazing Dr. Erin Zamzow, who I'm not sure if you guys know this, but like I've known Dr. Erin for, I want to say 25 years, but maybe it's only 20. Um, And I'm so lucky because I mean, we have so many stories to share, but I don't want to cut into our time. But like, we have harvested mullein, we have harvested elderberry from this giant old bush near your house. I've seen you heal horses' teeth. Dr. Erin is a holistic vet, and um, she has been a horse dentist, the kind that's really, really amazing and saves a lot of horses. Horse dentistry is like a holistic practice. A lot of people don't realize that. And I can go into more details with that. And I know you can. And then at this point, you are working with the chimp sanctuary, and I don't know anyone who has more diversity than you. It's like, wow, you know, saving pigs, potbelly pigs, and then, helping the chimp sanctuary, and then floating horses' teeth. And then if that's not enough, she started a company called Vivo, which is phenomenal way of detoxing animals. And I know maybe you don't like that phrase, but I think it's like a simple way to think of it. We'll talk
It's
about
fine.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to say the right terms, but
No, this is
anyway,
your
we use
audience,
the
so it's
Zeo
cool.
Clear product that you guys make for our vaccine clearings, which I think is super critical. I wish all conventional vets did it because they certainly do their share of over vaccinating, and it would be great to get some of those toxins out of the body as soon as possible. But at any rate, I thought, gosh, if it's okay with you, we could just first start about talking about kind of how you how did you, I don't even know how you started the horse dentistry thing, which might have been a little bit your entry into the holistic world, or what was your entrance into the holistic veterinary medicine world?
You
It's
know, Donna, it's so funny that you kind of are like feeding my life back to me because I'm like, well, it is kind of diverse, but it's also a reflection of sort of how I kind of ping pong through life. I I don't really have like a plan. These people like, I got a 5-year plan and I got a 10-year plan. And I'm like,
oh, well, that's
I
not
just,
me.
the next day comes and I'm like, what's up? What are we doing? So,
But you
not that
picked
I'm
one.
not relaxed or non-stressed about it, but it's more, I guess, I, I never particularly planned to be a veterinarian. I wasn't one of those people that just, oh, I want to be a vet my whole life, that whole thing. I always loved animals, of course, most, kids do. I guess it's really hard to say exactly how things happen, but when I got into veterinary school, I think I had my eyes opened a little bit in some areas, and so I guess it got me to start questioning and thinking a little bit beyond just what we were being taught, which was fabulous. I mean, I think we had a great education and all that, and this was back in the 80s. So I'm sure it's probably very different now in many ways. And so I think it was more that I've just always kind of had a curious mind. And sorry, I forgot to turn that phone off. And I just sort of started thinking about it, and a classmate of mine did the one of my best friends and a classmate of mine did the IVAS course as a senior. She got that scholarship and the International Veterinary Acupuncture Society course, and she ended up doing one of her internships with an integrative veterinarian that does a lot of acupuncture. And so that was sort of an introduction. And but I pretty much practiced conventional medicine, and I had always had an interest in learning more. And when the opportunity arose, I, I sort of delved into it a little bit more, but just I was always interested, dabbling and learning about, herbs and
Is it
different things.
because, I mean, a lot of us got into holistic medicine because we saw that we were frustrated with treating chronic diseases in a suppressive manner. And
Yeah, that definitely had to do a lot to do with it. And probably, I think the veterinarians that I worked with were probably doing the best they could, that they knew how. But I did see a lot of just sort of quick fix stuff, like literally like pred and
I was
antibiotics,
going to say steroids,
and
steroids and
I love
steroids.
steroids. I mean, I have no
Well,
problem using
I
steroids.
know they
I'll take a
save
steroid
lives,
if
but
I need it. But
yeah.
so, and I'm not as like holistic as a lot of holistic vets are, as far as I do use a lot of allopathic medications, Western medications, but I did start to go, maybe there's something else we can do here. And I would see that there was like this, and back then, we did yearly vaccinations, and then I started, looking into that a little bit more and going, well, I think this lasts a little bit longer, and sort of, questioning that. And so I guess probably those yearly vaccinations was probably one of the biggest things where I was like, now wait a second, why do dogs and cats need vaccines every single year? Maybe certain vaccinations, but when they started really challenging that and looking at that and seeing that, like in humans, immunity does last a lot longer for certain diseases and certain immunizations. So so it was just, and how I got it, the horse thing was actually one of those blessings in disguise, I guess. I was with a practice that a lot of what I questioned was more of a practice style, I guess, or looking at how animals are treated. So I became a vegetarian my freshman year of vet school.
With more of an animal welfare.
Yeah, it was more about animal welfare. Yeah. And so
because back then they're really with teeth floating and with, I mean, so many horses would be in pain. They'd be forced to carry this bit, but they wouldn't have like a bit seat, created.
They're just very sharp and
it's like they have, people don't realize they have like, their teeth can become like poker sticks in their mouth. And people just don't even know that's even a thing. Even today, I think people don't realize it. So
it's a lot better now, than it was in, 26 years ago or whatever, when I started. But so just the practice I was in, we didn't see eye to eye on some of those things, whether it was that I was more integrative in nature, or that I, wouldn't just put animals to sleep for convenience or things like that. And so when I found out that there was more to equine dentistry, it was actually from a friend who does a lot of training and whatnot. I was curious. Again, I was curious, and it led me to go ahead and just start doing it myself, go learn more about it, get the equipment, work with other people, all that. And it allowed me, at the time I had a kid and I was on call all the time. And that just was not working well. I mean, I still have the kid. He's old. He's 32 now, but so it allowed me as a single mom to have a lot more freedom of my schedule and to make better money.
And I was just going to, for the small animal people, I was just going to explain that when a horse's teeth are floated correctly, or, I should say, by changing the way that the teeth are in relation to each other, the upper and the lower, it can make profound differences in how the horse feels, and the horse's mood, in head shaking horses, in how the horse moves you know, how they can carry a rider, how they can even bend, how they can just live their whole lives, how an older horse can still keep eating, because people don't realize, the small animal people, that the horse's teeth keep growing, and so they have this hypsodontic tooth structure. And so
Right.
it
So
means that we have to, so that the way that the teeth are aligned is really much more important than in dogs and cats, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, dogs and cats, you can certainly have malocclusions and things like that as well. But because the horse's teeth continue to erupt over their life, there's that chance for them to actually sort of interlock, almost like a puzzle. And so what horses need to do, you know, they eat down on the ground and they go up like this, and they have this big long row of the molar arcade, that's their premolars and molars. And those, you know, they need to be able to put their head down and up without like opening their mouth, so their teeth don't catch on each other. And then if their molar arcades aren't lined up well, you can get big, huge, you know, sharp hooks that are literally digging into the soft
I think
tissue
that's
of that
how I maybe
opposite
met
side.
you, because
Yeah.
one of
Well,
my
it was with
horses
Charlie.
had that.
It was a thoroughbred.
Right. My thoroughbred had that, and it was like, oh, you can help me with that. I didn't even know it was kind of a thing. So even me being a vet, I had no clue. But so then
Yeah.
so changing over then into, and I mean, I feel like I've seen you for years at herbal symposiums and herbal trainings and things like that.
Mhm.
And I'm not even sure, what year did you get your acupuncture certification?
I was in 2011.
Okay,
I
so
think
that's
was it
over 10.
2010, 2011,
Yeah,
or
that's
2011,
amazing.
2012. See, I can't remember. It was
No,
sometime
no,
around
no, that
2011.
doesn't matter. I
That's
can
what happens
remember.
when you get old
Yeah.
and have kids. They suck your brain cells out. But so yeah, so it's been, you know, 10 years or so that I've been doing that. But yes, I did go to, like, I went to AHVMA, I want to say
Yeah.
in like maybe right after I graduated. So like in 1990, it was the year it was
You
in
were
Seattle.
already,
It was
yeah.
the year it was in Seattle. And then,
Oh,
um, and so I met like, you know, people there that I don't even know, some of them are still alive, but,
right.
and then, let's see, I went to the one in 98 in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. I think I
Yeah.
was at that one. Did we meet at
Yeah.
that?
Kim Henneman. No, I didn't meet
Okay.
you. Kim Henneman was there. I met
Oh,
Kim.
yeah.
Um, and it was New Orleans. I don't remember
And
whole lot.
Dr. Naomi Bierman was there. Yeah.
Dr. Veerman was probably there,
Yeah.
but I didn't meet her. I was with my friend Jane, you know,
Oh,
from
yeah,
school.
sure.
So we were part
There's
conference,
so many
part New
people there.
Orleans having fun. So
It was a very, very big conference back then.
it was really big.
Kind of
And there was a big
pre-pandemic.
flood in the
Yeah,
hotel.
I remember
Yeah.
the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, I'm just very, you know, I have ADD. I was diagnosed as an adult. And one of the things that I tend to do, which is common for folks with ADD, is for one, I get bored easily. And so bouncing around isn't such a bad thing, even though I did dentistry for, you know, 20 years, but, and I tend to hyper focus on things when I'm interested in them. And so sometimes I'll just go down these rabbit holes and just get, you know, really engaged in certain subjects. And if something it really isn't that interesting to me, I kind of out it goes of my brain. Or it's harder to
Well,
harder to
I
keep.
do that too. So who knows what my diagnosis is. But yeah, and I mean, it's kind of weird because when I was talking to Dr. Lemon, he was like, if I'm not interested in it, I don't, and he would be like, I'll read like 10 books on one little tiny minutia, you know, because I guess that's down a rabbit hole, but
That's a bigger rabbit hole than a deeper rabbit hole than I would
he
go
would
into.
just be, yeah. And of course, back when he started, there weren't as many books and whatever. So anyway,
Yeah.
so then what got you involved with the chimp sanctuary? Of course, this is the sanctuary in Cle Elum that rescues chimps. It's not one that breeds them or whatever, right? I mean, it's kind of
Right. This is a GFAS certified, you know, USDA inspected, very well run, true sanctuary for chimpanzees and the chimps. All the chimps there were from biomedical research.
Can't even
And
imagine doing that.
yeah,
What is that?
so
We need to get
yeah,
rid of
and
that.
in 2015, it was, the NIH added sort of like domestically kept or captive kept chimpanzees to the endangered species list, so they could no longer be used in research.
Are they using
And
now still?
no, you cannot use them. So there are
Oh,
still
that's good.
chimpanzees that need homes and sanctuaries that are still being warehoused in laboratory facilities. And some of those facilities have, tried to get better about their habitats, but, there's no income, there's no, uh,
And they're pretty expensive, right? To keep
they're very expensive
I
to
mean, I know
keep.
you guys are a 501(c)(3) and you do all kinds of fundraising things just to kind of keep the thing
Yep.
going, right? I
Yep.
mean, it's like,
Yep. It's grants and donations is what it's run on. And we have wonderful volunteers. We had a lot more volunteers before COVID. That kind of really shut everything
yeah.
down. And of course, we have to be very careful about that with the
But the
chimps.
chimps could potentially get COVID, or they might not get COVID, or we don't know about it.
Chimps are susceptible to other coronaviruses and adenoviruses and the influenza virus that humans get. They are our closest relatives DNA wise. So they're very susceptible. They have the same angiotensin converting enzyme system that we do. So that receptor is the same. So far we know of just gorillas and orangutans that have contracted it. And of course, big cats we know can get it. Dogs and cats we know can get it. And I don't know if it's because we're so careful around the chimps, or we're not really sure why. But
I mean,
so far, we don't know of any that have contracted it or gotten really sick.
I have a question about that. So, because my understanding is that all the animals that have contracted COVID can't then give it to another animal or person. It's like they're basically dead end hosts. Is that what you understand as well?
I don't think that's
Okay.
probably true at all
Do
for
we have a
chimpanzee.
case where somebody's gotten COVID from an animal?
Oh, well, you're talking about giving it back to a human, like zoonotically?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure about
COVID.
that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think they can
But
contract it from humans for sure.
yeah,
So yeah, but the chimps could give it to each other.
right. Once it would be theoretically.
And we have no way to, do isolation quarters, other than the two separate living groups that are there, which of course, when we do quarantine and stuff, we do that. But it would be a challenge, and it'd be very stressful, for the chimps, plus dangerous, because in order to treat a chimpanzee, they're amazing, they're wonderful, and they're incredibly intelligent, but other than oral medications, if you're going to do anything hands-on, exam wise, that is more than you can do sort of with positive reinforcement training, through the caging, that kind of thing. They need to be completely anesthetized. So that poses a risk,
Strong
as
creatures,
well.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that's
it's a wonderful organization. There are
yeah, it's wonderful to know that someone who's so into animal welfare is working, a veterinarian is, because I always think, gosh, are the vets that work with some of these animals, do they even care about animals? Like, I mean, I always wonder, because maybe not in a chimp, for talking about chimps, but just like laboratory research. And anyway, that's a whole other rabbit hole. I don't know anything about it really, but
Yeah, I think a lot of them do really care about the animals, and that's probably why they want to be there. But there's also a level of probably, mental health preservation that goes into it,
well,
so.
I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everyone, speaking of mental health preservation. So, we have this big problem in veterinary medicine. We have a 7-year attrition rate. We have surpassed dentists as far as our suicide rate. We have $400,000 or whatever. I think the average is like supposedly 200,000 or just under it for debt. So our debt income ratio is not what it should be. And I'm just wondering for any advice you might have for young vets that are getting in. And I already see that you're so interested. So I think sometimes they lose interest. Of course, they're usually oftentimes working for a big corporation, and I don't know.
I have definitely had, I mean, you've known me for a long time. I've, I've definitely had many times when I've been like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm
Yeah,
done. I don't want to be responsible for
I think
anybody's
that's
health. I don't
normal.
want to be, so as much as there are incredible rewards to it, I think we need to be realistic about what veterinary medicine can provide for practitioners and for clients these days. I mean, it is, I wish we really valued the practice of veterinary medicine in this country. It is really interesting to me how we can, read all these articles about the suicide rate and the work-life balance and the stress level that veterinarians are under, and yet we're still not making college affordable or free. We're not, there are student loan payback programs that have, these parameters that you have to fit into. And of course, every vet can't do that. Not every vet wants to do that. Does the public want every vet doing those things where, so there are programs, but it's just the fact that it is so expensive to go to college,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
I graduated in 1990. I was able to work my way through undergrad. I was able to work
Wow.
part-time, pay for my rent and I worked at restaurants. So I usually got a shift meal. Sometimes that was the only meal I had. But I still had fun, I still had a good time. And I was able to do all that. And it just feels like there is, I don't know, the financial pressures are so great. And that's a real, that's a system problem with
It's like
our
the whole
country.
country, right? Because I mean, you
Of
talk to
course, it's
people in other
everything.
countries,
Yeah, it's
we don't have
college,
socialized
it's the
anything.
cost of living, it's the cost of housing, it's our priorities,
Yeah.
we live in such a strange,
We can pay professional athletes, whatever, $5 million a year, but then your doctor.
yeah, it's, I don't, I mean, some professional athletes probably, are worth a ton of money. They work really hard. I wish women and professional athletes got
Well, yeah.
paid, at the level. But, I understand that there's, a lot of inequity still, but
Mhm.
I'm not in the camp that I just think, that should make a ton of money.
Mhm.
I'm more in the camp that I am we live in a very extractive system that really, you're almost, the whole money issue, I will never have a lot of money because if I have it, I share it, I
Mhm.
rescue or I give or I support. And I don't know. I just think we have very strange priorities, both in this country and
Mhm.
in many parts of the world, at least in the westernized world, as
Mhm.
far as our relation and how we live in community and how we live with each other and what we value,
Mhm.
you know.
I think that's, yeah. I mean, I think we need to address some of those bigger systems, those bigger issues, or we're not gonna
Yeah.
top of
Yeah.
it. It's like a,
So, as
I don't
far
really
as
see.
what to give younger vets or students or people considering going into veterinary medicine, um, I I do think you should kind of have a plan. You should have a mental health care plan. You should have a
Mhm.
support system plan. Um,
Yeah.
you should ideally, um, if possible, find a supportive environment. But I know I hear a lot of, from the Not One More Vet group,
Yes.
I
It's a
hear a lot
great
of stories
Facebook page.
of people going into jobs and then just, the conditions are not ideal, or there's abuse, mental or verbal abuse. There's,
Mhm.
um, really challenging situations.
I mean,
And
I think it's always been there, but now people are kind of maybe there's forums where we can.
Well, I know it's been there. I've been
Yeah.
there, I've been in those practices, but, it's really, I don't know, it's really hard to prioritize your self-care and also want to really be of service, I mean, I'd like to say, hey, specialize, make sure you've got, a specialty that there's a market for and all that, but specialists are certainly not immune to the abuses that happen in, residencies and internships and
Right.
all
Whenever
that.
there's a power dynamic, it could.
Exactly. When there's a hierarchy and a power dynamic. And I think, seeking, when we seek power and status, it really messes things up.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Well,
yeah.
no, those are good things for people to think about. So do you have any kind of amazing stories about using either your guys' products at Vivo? I mean, I could tell you one if you can't come up with one, but like,
You can tell me one. You can tell me one. I mean, I can tell you how it got started,
well, we
and
can talk about that, but I kind of thought
know.
like a specific case.
Well, that's it was sort of our test cases.
Oh, okay.
And there was a horse in Redmond, an older Morgan mare that was from really, really good lines. And she was with a farm there, and she had really struggled with laminitis. So that, inflammation that horses get in their feet, where there's no room for the inflammation because of the hoof capsule, and it causes a lot of pain. It can cause the tissues to break down. It can cause the bone to actually separate from the hoof wall, all that, all that.
Yeah, but just for our small animal folks, laminitis can have a huge, can kind of like, there can be a whole endocrine breakdown around it. Like, so
Right.
Cushing's disease, too many glucocorticoids or sort of steroids running around the body. That can be part of the cause. Insulin resistance. So there's sugars, there's cortisol.
Right.
It's like, it's not easy.
Yeah, it can be endocrine, it can be
it's complicated, but they basically,
it's the complex. Yeah.
And then the small animal people don't realize, but like, this means that a horse cannot walk. They are in excruciating
pain.
And you feel their feet and they are on fire. Their little hooves are on fire. So yeah, you have a laminitis story maybe for us.
Well, so there were two mares that one was in Oregon and one was in Redmond, Washington. And so one of our first batches that we just thought, okay, let's see if we can just sort of support blood flow and get more antioxidants into the system and help the body with toxin and toxics elimination, and just see, so the one mare in Redmond, that mare had been down, up and down, she would spend hours laying down, and it was getting kind of dangerous. She was getting older and had to be on, phenylbutazone, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory for pain. And within, I want to say maybe a week or so of being on the product,
And which product was it? Was it the?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a Zeo Complete. It was a
Zeo
Zeo Complete,
okay.
which is a higher antioxidant and immune system support type product. And then within a couple of weeks, I got a call from my client, and she said, "You got to come out here and look at this mare." And I went out, and that mare was cantering around her paddock, which she had not done for years. So that impressed me. So I thought, oh, well, maybe, this, and then the mare in Oregon actually did quite well too. And it was really interesting. She was one of these ones, her face would swell. She had like a phlebitis from a occluded jugular vein. And there was and she would get this venous occlusion every time before she was going to go into laminitis. And it really, really helped that mare too. So that's my one story. I have a lot. So then, we've been doing it for 14 years. So yeah.
So then I'm thinking about the small animal applications. So for circulatory issues, it sounds like that kind of what you were talking about there. Do you feel like the Vivo Zeo Complete helped with the endothelial lining of those animals? Or, and then if so, how would it apply into like cats and dogs? Like, what about cats with saddle thrombus?
I am not, I have to say I'm not sure if we've tried it on cats with
I know they're
saddle trauma.
usually
Cats
they're
are
usually
tough.
euthanized. That's
Well, and cats are tough because cats are picky. And
Mhm,
so, we mostly use it in dogs and horses.
mhm,
And, we've used it in several cats,
mhm,
but I don't have a lot of cat cases
mhm.
because they get picky and then they won't eat it. So
I
it's
think
kind of
I
hard
think
to
yeah. I mean, I just need to
the zeal
inform.
clear, they probably would
Yeah,
eat better because there's less ingredients in
yeah.
it.
I've used the Zeal Clear quite a bit for the
Yeah,
cats, just for
pretty
detoxification.
tasteless.
So for the I know you don't like the word detoxification, but maybe you can just speak to
I'm
how
fine
the
with the word detoxification
okay.
because but my glitch is that I think it's kind of overused as a marketing term,
Yeah,
that here's a product and it's going to detox you.
yeah,
Well, we detox all the time. What do you think
yeah,
our cells are constantly going through,
yeah.
and our liver and our spleen and our kidneys and our GI tract and our skin. So it's and measuring toxins or toxics. Toxins are metabolic byproducts from the body. Toxics are environmental, but we all refer to them just as toxins, right?
Mhm,
Getting a measurement of those is really challenging.
mhm,
You can do a hair analysis. That's what's coming out of your body.
mhm,
So you don't know what was in your body, what's environmental, all that.
mhm,
You can do a urine analysis. That's what your body's getting rid of. So we don't know really what your load is. You can do challenge studies where you take a provocative agent or like a chelating agent or something, and you measure your urine all day the day before, and then you take the stuff, and then all day, the day that you take the whatever agent, EDTA or whatever, and then it'll show how much is being pulled out of your body. And that might be a measure, but really you'd have to do like organ biopsies and stuff to sample
right.
and see,
It's not very
and there are
practical.
so many different both metabolic waste products and environmental toxins
Mhm,
that it's really expensive and hard to test all those.
mhm,
The environmental working group did tests on, well, they've done a lot of work. The environmental working group is amazing. The work that
mhm,
they have done, looking at toxicity in
mhm,
our environment, in our bodies, and our animals' bodies.
mhm.
And they took umbilical cord blood from babies and analyzed it, and newborn babies, and found, you know,
They find a lot of toxins in
a
those ones.
lot, I think up to 200 in some samples.
Super.
So,
We should
we're
just
all
be
exposed.
analyzing how we
Yeah,
are in
food,
America.
air, water, all that.
Yeah,
And I'm not a
a lot of
purist. I
chemicals.
don't, I'm not a raw foodist. I mean, I'm, I don't eat animal products, but
Mhm.
that's, from more of a, I just don't want
I mean, I
to
don't
anymore.
either. I know we have
Yeah.
that in common.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you inspired me to finally get rid of my dairy habit.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Oh, it
you did
was so hard.
it.
Don't you remember me
What?
coming to your, I don't, we were eating somewhere like, I don't think I could ever give up dairy. I could never give up cheese.
Oh,
And
what?
then, I just, man, one day, I think
Yeah.
I think it was January 1st, 2015. I was like, that's it. No more
You
dairy.
kept a New Year's resolution?
It's weird. I don't,
Do you
I
always
never
keep New Year's
do. I'm
resolutions?
not a resolution person. I just had to
No.
have a cutoff date, and
I
that
had to have a cutoff date.
was
Might as well just make it the first of the year.
I just had to pick it. Yeah.
Aw,
Yeah. But my whole family is pretty conscious that way,
that's
my
nice.
sisters and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's good. But
Yeah.
yeah. So what's your Zero Clear story? I want to hear it.
Okay,
Let me
and
hear it.
we have 3 minutes on this one. We can start a new Zoom, but of course, I'm a cheapskate, so I don't get the like one where you have to pay for it. So, so if we run out of time, I can send you another
We can
link. But
splice. that
Yeah.
sounds good.
So, but it was Bella. She says she's reached out to you guys. I don't know if whatever, but anyway, she buys the Zeal Clear from you. So Bella went into liver failure years ago. I mean, we're talking bad liver failure where she didn't want to eat and vomiting and from medications. I can't exactly remember which ones. She was on a boatload of them from the conventional vet, and just her liver just said, So your product was the first thing that she found to help the dog, because before that she wasn't eating anything. When she started, she would just take the Zeal Clear and make it into a slurry,
Mhm.
and she got the appetite back that way. It's
Oh,
incredible.
that's
Oh
wonderful.
yeah. Oh no. And
Yeah.
it's so funny because now this has been like 2 years. She's on our herbs too, and a lot of different other herbs,
Uh-huh.
and just she's on a homemade diet. And so her liver enzymes has stabilized for all those, and she's
That's
like 12.
wonderful.
Yeah, she's 12 years
Well,
old
the liver
now.
is so closely, is part of the digestive system, and that product is really kind of geared more towards GI support,
Yeah,
with prebiotics and
it's
all that.
incredible.
So,
We were
yeah,
so
that's fantastic.
so
I
she
love the
still
transition.
she still does it. She still gives Bella the Zeal Clear. I'm always like, I wonder if she should take a break,
Take a
or
break.
but I mean, good luck trying to get her to take a break, because she saw this amazing
Yeah,
results like right away. So I was like, well, if you don't want
that's
to, I'm
cool.
like, I was thinking I should talk to Dr. Zamzo and see if it's okay to just stay on it.
Yeah,
And
if
she's
as
got
long as they're not
questions.
overdoing it, I always try to get people to get, almost whatever it is. I try to get people to get on the lowest dose that they need
Okay, that's good to know.
to deal with what's
Yeah.
going on. And sometimes you need to switch things up and all that. There's, as you know, practicing veterinary medicine, and when you can really I see so few clients now. A lot of that's because of COVID and my work at the sanctuary, but it's also, when I can really deal more, just I feel like I can pay more attention and give it a better quality of care for me um, when I really change things up as we need to,
Like
and you've been
diet and
practicing, and I mean, you are such an artist with your knowledge of acupuncture and herbs and chiropractic. And it's just, I'm always in awe of that.
oh, you're so
And I
sweet.
just, yeah, I think it's wonderful. So to have an endorsement from someone like you is really that.
You guys are the ones making the products. I'm
Yeah,
just
we always
using
talked
them.
about, yeah, we're not really, we're not big. We're not going to sell on Amazon.
Yeah,
We're not,
you guys are
we're
really
very
small, which is
small,
great. Makes me like
tiny
it even
mom and
more.
pop company, really, my husband and I.
Mm.
And she woke up the other morning. It was her 13-year-old. It was her older dog. And she hasn't been able to get on the bed, for a long time, for months. So, she was very excited about that. Felt it's definitely helping, mobility and blood flow and all that. And I've had the same thing happen, a couple times with different potbelly pigs, because they're very prone to arthritis. And as a matter of fact, our mutual friend Jane's potbelly pig was getting so old and arthritic that she just barely moved anywhere in the yard.
Mm.
And Jane was out working in the yard, and the pig scared her because she was right behind her. She was like, "Oh, what's that?" She
Wow.
walked all the way across the yard. So, and that was with the Zeo Complete. And then, there's been cases with horses. A lot of times if I see early, just kind of that pudgy, maybe looking like they're going to go towards a metabolic, insulin resistant kind of thing, getting fat pads, had some really good results with that. And just the coat shines up and the feet do better. I've had farriers tell me on the Zeo Clear, with the horses, the feet get better. So, and hair coat on dogs, just better shine.
Do you think it's because of the zeolites in there? I mean, tell me
I
a quick version of how you
Yeah, I
feel
think
it.
I think with the Zeal Clear, a lot of like the hoof and coat health probably has to do with the food grade diatomaceous earth, because it's fossilized diatom, so it's a good source of silica. I think overall the sort of the kind of blood flow enhancer type ingredients, and the immune supporting ingredients, and there's like in the Zeal Clear, there's like burdock root
I was just thinking that quercetin, burdock, I can't remember all the
Quercetin,
other ones.
burdock, bioflavonoids,
Oh, that's right.
you know, so those all really help just with, you know, all kinds of aspects of cellular
But
function.
the zeolites have a kind of specific thing that they're doing though, right?
The zeolite, yeah, zeolites are they're formed from ancient deposits where like a volcanic ash met seawater, and they form in kind of almost like a little cage structure, and they have a negative net charge, the molecules, and so they attract. They'll do a cation exchange where they'll give away like a calcium, and they'll attract something that is a much greater positive charge, which heavy metals do. So they selectively take like the heavy metals and stuff. So they can absorb those through the GI tract. They seem to have an affinity for a lot of other environmental toxins, and can help balance the pH in the GI tract. And then you sort of combine that with, you know, the other different nutraceuticals and herbs and whatnot, coenzyme Q10 for mitochondrial, you know, function and health. And there's just, it's a very synergistic.
And it's super safe. I mean, when I read the ingredients,
Zeolite is very safe as long as you're not, you know, both zeolite and diatomaceous earth. You just don't want to use like a heat treated, you know, it's not like the same stuff you're going to use in a pool filter or something. It's all food grade, generally recognized as safe. I mean, if you think about it, we probably consume a lot of different, you know, sort of earth clays and minerals, it just naturally in the environment, you know, diatoms are pretty much everywhere. And so, yeah.
That's so cool. Well,
yeah.
Gosh, any other words of wisdom for people? I mean, anything to,
You know, you know, I was just thinking about, you know, as far as giving anything to say to newer vets or even older vets, you know, it's okay to go a different direction. You know, I think a lot of vets feel, especially because of the financial burden with student loans and stuff, that, you know, they're like a failure if they end up leaving veterinary medicine. But, you know, if you need to go in a different direction, if everybody that was in, I think, you know, sabbaticals are a wonderful thing.
Well, I know, then you can put your thinking cap on, right?
Yeah.
Because
You
otherwise,
can
when
get
you're
out of
knee
your,
deep in it, you
you can
like,
get out of
you
your
know,
profession or do something else in your profession. Like maybe instead of being in general practice, you go into, you know, just spay neuter, or you go into public health, you know, the One Health initiative that looks, that's a whole concept of connecting human and animal health. And you see where we, you know, have pandemics and environmental pollution and how different communities are impacted by, you know, factory farming and all that, there's a lot of ways that people with the knowledge and the training that a veterinarian has can go. But truly, if you just want to go make espresso and
right.
you know, or be a
attached to our
bartender
ego.
or a camp counselor.
So I think that's because people get really attached to their ego of being a vet. You know, I went through all this training, I paid all this money, you know, I'm a veterinarian, and, you know, but, you know, the thing is, no one will be able to take that away from people. There'll always be a veterinarian. So for 6
and we
months,
should be
if they
proud of
wanna
what we went through, you
have a
know,
food truck, you're always going to be a veterinarian then you'll be a veterinarian with the food truck. It's like, cool.
Right.
You're never going to get
Right.
that taken
And
away
maybe
from
you can, you know, volunteer and help out, you know, for underserved communities or something like that to feed your soul. I hate that so much of it is connected to finances. You know, I really do. It's very sad. And it's something that needs to change in our society, what we value.
I would say so.
Because I do think people that, you know, work hard and go through a lot of schooling, and, you know, it's not easy getting through pre-vet or vet school, or practicing isn't easy. So there needs to be a reward there. There needs to be a, you know, ability to someday, you know, retire, relax, whatever,
Yeah, that would
um,
be, yep.
but it's unfortunate.
And then the
Yeah.
other thing I was going to say is just like with me, with what happened with me is that I sort of just gradually started to do, like, it's almost like the pathway will open up for you. Like, I remember when I was working nights in ER and I was doing days and as an emergency vet. So there was like, I mean, I was doing nights as emergency vet, I was doing days as a holistic vet. And I just remember that moment of like, I need to stop because I'm not getting any sleep. Like, it was about a year or two into it, and I just thought, I have to make the leap of faith that I'm gonna be able to pay my bills with being just a holistic vet, because it's
Yeah.
what felt right in my heart. And and sometimes I think that the pathway is then kind of chosen for us. I mean, we can kind of,
Yeah.
the whole
It,
thing of like, if you open it up, then it's like you have to open those doors. And then once they're open, it's just like a flood of clients, or,
it
it's what you
can
were meant
be.
to be
That's certainly
doing.
how it happened, you know, when I decided to go into equine dentistry. And I mean, I
Yeah.
actually, you know, when I wanted to slow down in equine dentistry, and after I got my, went through the acupuncture training, I thought, you know what, I'll just open a little practice. I had wanted to open a practice. I kind of missed surgery, you know, minor surgeries and some of the other stuff, and wanted to keep those skills sharp. And so I opened a practice in Ellensburg, and I ran it for about 4 years, and it became incredibly stressful for me
Yeah.
because, you know, I
Because
was being,
people were like,
was being a
"Okay."
mom. I had a
They wanted
retail
you.
space.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to figure out, you know, and I wasn't really paying myself anything because I'm like, well, if I
Yeah.
pay help, then there, you know, and because it takes a while for business, blah, 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 blah.
Oh
So
yeah. That's the
you know, I
whole.
ended up closing it in 2016, and um, and I remember feeling, you know, like, ugh, I kind of feel like kind of like I failed. And both my husband and a really good friend, they said, what are you talking about? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with walking away from something that is sucking your
Life
energy
force.
in your soul.
Yeah.
You know, and so even though there were parts about it that I really, really loved, you know, it's the same with the equine dentistry. I miss the barns, I miss the horses, I miss the traveling. My shoulders don't
Mhm.
miss it at all. I don't miss the long 14, 16-hour days. I don't miss working in, you know, 30-degree weather and freezing. You know, but I miss other aspects, but that's okay. It was there for a time in my life. And
Mhm.
you know, it's okay to walk away or do different things. And yeah, I mean, we should be very proud of ourselves for the work we've done as veterinarians and for what we know
Yeah. I
and
mean,
all
the
that.
amount of
But
years.
also we can't know everything.
No.
And,
Oh my gosh.
you know, you think about what vets have to know coming out of
Mhm.
school and to pass boards, all the
Yeah.
species, surgery, medicine, you know,
Yeah.
how many MDs know how to run anesthesia, do surgery, do a dental, pull teeth, um, you know, plus probably like some acupuncture and, you know, whatever else, integrative medicine, know all these different pharmaceuticals, different doses. I mean, look at the
Yeah.
different doses between, you know, horses and dogs, you know, and
Yeah.
how different some things are. Look at the difference between what a horse can take with xylazine and a cow. You know, you kill a
Yeah.
cow with what you give a horse. So, you know, there's a
Oh my
lot to
gosh.
know, and we got to remember,
Not to mention billing, and
and
for me, I'm
billing and
doing like content
right.
generation, social media
Right.
integration.
Yeah. I mean, you know, doctors don't have to be connected to the money because there's
Yeah.
health insurance, or they have a front office person
Right.
or whatever. So they're not the one handing, you know, the bill out a lot of times.
Mhm.
And a lot of us solo practitioners or mobile vets and things like that, you know, we are directly connected to that money. And that
Mhm.
for me, it can get very draining. I'm not um, it's hard because I have a lot of empathy when people have financial struggles, and a lot of people have financial struggles. And I don't feel like pet ownership should be only for the wealthy, you know.
Mhm. I know it's a big
But
problem.
again, if we
Again.
value that in this society, then let's work to make college affordable
Mhm.
and And, our basic needs, our food and housing and healthcare,
Mhm.
shouldn't we shouldn't have to work, that incredibly hard for just basic survival,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
agree. I definitely agree. It's like so
Yeah,
many years of schooling and it's still, you're just, there are a lot of people I know, and for sure I went through years of just struggling, it's like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to
yeah,
pay my bills this month? So
yeah.
it's a good reminder. Well, thank you so much. I feel like what a treat to get all these like little wonderful little gems from you. And
Well, thank you. It's
I
a
just want to
pleasure to
thank you
talk to
so,
you.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing all these stories with people. And we'll see what they say in the comments. And hopefully, everyone out there will subscribe and comment and share Dr. Zamzow's story. And, then we can even maybe do part two if there's enough questions. So.